Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our series, Women Who Travel the World. And we have our guest, Lavinia, here. Hi, Lavinia.
Hi.
Great to have you with us. Lavinia is a body language expert and a really great expert at seeing connections between movements, emotions, and mind. So this is going to be a very interesting, exciting conversation and how we can use that knowledge when we travel to stay balanced. So would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what your lifestyle looks like?
Sure. Delighted. And so glad to be here, Anastasia. What a great idea. For many people, the idea that somebody could actually make a living teaching movement and body language is already exotic in itself. And I've had a very long career, which started in the theater, actually. I was a performer for about 25 years, and that's really what got me interested in how people express themselves emotionally. But alongside my career as a performer and then eventually as a movement teacher professional, I teach something called the Feldenkrais method, which is known better in some countries than others, but it's a way of using movement to train your brain to be able to do what you want. And I'll talk more about that later. But what I was going to say is alongside all of that was this absolute passion for traveling. I would just figure out all the time, how can I organize my life in order to be able to travel? So throughout my life, I have done things that would take me to different places, see if I could get invited to teach workshops or create workshops of my own. I actually live in Asheville, North Carolina, where I direct a movement center, and that's where I have my full practice. And I've just basically dedicated my entire life to helping people use movement to live a better life, whether that means understanding their own emotional context and how they carry themselves, or how they can be more effective as speakers or bosses or workers. All of that is contained within your body, how you move. In fact, one of my favorite sayings is how you move is how you move through life. And so learning how to move through foreign countries, strange train stations, crowded airports, and feeling safe and comfortable is definitely something that I've been practicing for a really long time.
Yeah, this is so interesting. And often when we travel, we probably sit for several hours in the same position, or it's like, oh, body gets exhausted because we don't get enough rest, or if we sleep at a hotel, it's a new mattress we are not used to. So the body and movement really needs a lot of attention. So what do you think from your point of view, how can we stay balanced and feel good while traveling?
Well, I was sitting as you were listing all of those things. I was thinking of all the different times that I've been in those situations and what kind of strategies I've used. So maybe we should start with the actual traveling itself. Like if we're traveling, you spend time on an airplane, right? And we all know just how comfortable those chairs are. They're not. And now recently, I've noticed that some airlines actually have a little card in the seat back that gives you different stretches or yoga postures to try in the seat. Yeah, but they're the kind of things that they don't really help. Let me put it that way. They might help you a little bit, but they're not really addressing the entire nervous system, the entire skeleton. Yes, you can do a couple of stretches of your legs as you're reaching downward, or you can try a couple of reaching backward things to stretch yourself out when you're in the plane. But what you really want to do is find out how, I saw you moving yourself around. How can you become comfortable in an uncomfortable situation? So what happens is when we start to get uncomfortable in a chair or in an airplane, all we start thinking about is how uncomfortable. How can I get more? Oh, I can't. It's making me come. What am I going to do? And instead, you could turn your attention to different parts of yourself. And in the process of turning your attention to different parts of yourself, you can begin to do little tiny movements. I actually created an entire program called Have a Comfortable Flight, which are little mini lessons that people can listen to on their device that direct them. So you could do small movements with your shoulders. You could do small movements with your spine. I mean, I could direct you through a few of them if you want, where you're just working, going deep inside. The movements are so small. Most of the time, people don't know that you're even doing it if they're sitting right next to you. Sometimes I've been asked what I'm doing, and people actually, one time somebody was doing the lessons in an airplane. I love this story, actually. She was doing the lessons in an airplane, and the woman next to her was so uncomfortable that she took her earbuds and gave them to the lady next to her. And then the woman started doing the exercises and was so happy that she went, and got the program for herself as well. So, using small movements and connecting to your breathing and connecting to what your thought process is much more effective than trying to do big, giant movements and stretching yourself out. Because what you're doing is you're talking to your brain, you're talking to your nervous system. It's your nervous system and your brain that's telling you you're uncomfortable, not your muscles. The muscles are responding to the command from the brain. So if you can calm your brain down, then you'll be able to feel more comfortable sitting. Now, that being said, I have been in a chair in an airport. Those plastic things, they are it's so difficult to sit in because you kind of slide backward and they're hard. So, airports are great. And again, people have started to get the idea. There are now some yoga studios in airports. There are massage places in airports where you can care for yourself in those different ways. But you can also, go for a little walk, especially if you're traveling with somebody and they can watch your stuff. And I have to confess, I have been known to find a little piece of carpet and sit down on the floor and lie down on the floor and do some movements. And I noticed that when I first started doing that many, many years ago, there would be people who would be like looking at me like, okay, she's really weird. But I'm noticing more and more and more people who are going, no, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to get down and do some movement, whether it's yoga or Tai Chi or Feldenkrais, to take care of yourself in that situation. So to me, that's one important aspect of it. Another important aspect, of course, is controlling anxiety. Whether it's that you're worried about the plane itself when you're in the plane, or you're worried because they just put up the sign that said that your flight is delayed, and you know that you have to make a connection in Paris and you're not going to make it. And what are you going to do if you get stuck overnight in Paris? And what happens to your nervous system as you start to get anxious about that? What happens, even before that, when you're going through security? And, there's so many different times where the actual waiting and the actual being provokes emotional anxiety. And in fact, I talk to a lot of people who won't travel because they cannot bear the emotional anxiety that's connected with it. And I think to myself, well, the reward is 100 times better than the actual, stress that's going on, because I get off the plane, and I'm in Split or I'm in India. And that to me is such an incredible reward. But if you feel that anxiety, you need some strategies to, again, calm your nervous system down. And there's one that I'd love to share if it's okay with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is just so incredibly simple and yet so incredibly powerful that you can use while you're waiting in line to go through security, while you're pacing, waiting for them to put up your departure sign. Even when the plane gets turbulent and you're in the plane and you start to feel that feeling of, okay, my emotions are starting to spiral out of control. And it's from the Feldenkrais method. And it's a way that you can just use your fingers to calm your entire nervous system down. So I'm going to demonstrate it for you, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can join me if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
So you don't have to hold your hand up in the air like this. You can just have it resting wherever you want, but I'm going to hold my hand up so that people can see it. So I'm just bringing my fingertips together to just touch my thumb, just like that. So it's like, if you're in Italy and you go, mwah, it's that kind of a feeling, right? It's that feeling that your fingertips have come together. And then you let it pulse open and close very delicately, very slow. I mean, actually the tempo can be whatever tempo you want to set for yourself, but that it's an even tempo. So you're not stretching your fingers out and closing them really tight. You're keeping this soft, easy tempo, and then you're connecting it with your breathing. Not that you're necessarily going inhale, exhale, but that you're aware that you're breathing and that you're pulsing in this way. And what happens is, if I'm doing this and I start to get an anxious thought, or suddenly somebody says something about my flight being delayed, you'll notice that your hand does that, or your hand starts going, and it's almost, in the United States, we have a saying, when we don't want somebody to talk to them, where we go, talk to the hand, I'm not listening to you. So your hand is actually, from the perspective of body language, your hand is what your thoughts are. Your hands, your gestures that you use, like I'm gesturing as I'm talking, they are not to explain to somebody else what you're saying. They're your own feedback device. And in fact, when we gesture, we're actually gesturing a little bit, right a microsecond before the words come out. So by inhibiting your habitual gesture, whether it's, oh my God, or oh my God, by inhibiting it intentionally with this slow pulse, what you're doing is your hands are saying to your brain, I'm thinking about nothing. Everything is totally cool. I'm just going to pulse here. And if you start to feel like you're breathing into your chest, you might even bring your pulse to your chest so that you can calm down, right? So I've given some strategies for physical, and then we've got the emotional, just for actual traveling. And so maybe I'll stop there, because maybe some questions have come up for you. I could go on and on.
Yeah, this is amazing. I have actually one question about why is it important to take care of the body when you're traveling? Like, how does uncomfortable body position and being exhausted in your body affect your mind state?
Well, they're absolutely connected. A lot of times people talk about this idea of the body-mind connection, but it's not that they're connected. They're actually the same thing. New science is saying that your body is your mind is your body. So it's not like it's not like you have a little person living in your brain going, okay, now move the body around, right? So it's all one thing. So if your body starts to become uncomfortable, then the mind starts to spin, and then it starts to make you more uncomfortable. If the mind or the emotions are uncomfortable, you're going to start to go into tensing in your shoulders, breathing in the chest. By the way, that's a really important thing to remember, is that when a person breathes, when you find yourself looking at that delayed sign and going, oh God, that is the worst thing you can do for yourself. And if you feel like it's coming up in here, you want to bring your breath down and breathe, exhale slowly. You don't want to take deep gulps. This is a misconception that people have, that they're supposed to take deep breaths, because as soon as you try to take a deep breath, it's going to go up into your chest, and it's going to tell your nervous system that you're in danger, right? That's what happens when we tell our nervous system we're in danger, and then the brain will go crazy. But if you take slow breaths and exhale slowly while you're reading the bad news, or while you're realizing that your luggage didn't arrive, or while you get to the hotel and they go, we're sorry, we don't have your name in our reservations. You take that slow breath, and that helps calm body and mind. So they're not separated at all. And then if your body is uncomfortable, it takes you much longer. For example, if you're doing an international flight, which I do a lot, if your body is uncomfortable on the plane, then it's going to take you even longer to acclimate, to adjust, or even to feel like you can get a good night's rest when you get to the hotel. And I didn't talk about strategies to do when you've arrived, but maybe, like I said, we can get to that if you want.
And a question that I have, okay, let's say that we are facing an unexpected situation, like something happens with luggage or a flight or hotel reservation. Okay, this is what happened. This is the situation. How will those strategies to calm down my nervous system and to just calm down, how will it help me to solve the situation?
Oh gosh, there's so many things that can happen because of that. Because if you panic, you literally can't think. That is really, really important. They have actually done studies that when people are in a panic, they can't even see clearly. There's terrible stories about police who actually thought they saw a gun when the guy was pulling out a wallet because the police were so panicked. So I don't see clearly. I don't hear clearly. I don't think clearly. And if you're trying to talk to a reservation agent and you've been canceled and they've just had 40 people who were yelling at them and you start going, I have to get on my flight, they're not going to help you. So they're going to, because everything, I mean, we're communicating animals. So if you're in a panic, that makes the reservation agent nervous, that makes the hotel manager stressed, and they actually then might turn against you and go, we're just sorry, we just can't help you. But if you're able to stay calm and stay within a centered place in yourself, then often you can figure out a solution or make a suggestion or even see another opportunity. I'll tell a quick story.
Yes.
I was flying back from a conference in Southern California, and it was early December, and I'm on the plane, and I was supposed to change planes in Washington, D.C. And while we're on the plane, I see that there's a sudden snowstorm descending upon the southeast where I live, and that is going to be moving north to Washington, D.C. And I know that by the time I get across the country and land in Washington, D.C., that I'm going to be in trouble. But the storm is way down in the south. So I get to the airport, and of course, within 20 minutes after I get to my gate, they say the flight has been delayed to my destination, my southern destination. And I'm like, yeah, and it's perfectly blue sky in Washington, D.C. And I'm thinking, okay, it's that far south now. And then they put up that it's delayed again. And I'm like, they're going to cancel this flight. I just know they're going to cancel this flight. And I start to think to myself, okay, what are my solutions? Because if the snowstorm hits Washington, D.C., I'm going to be trapped here for days. And instead of allowing myself to totally panic, I just kind of took a deep breath and looked around, and I happened to see that right next to me was a woman sitting there Googling madly rental cars to Greenville, Spartanburg. And I introduced myself and I said, were you planning to fly to Greenville, Spartanburg? And she goes, yes, I was. And I said, were you planning on renting a car? And she's like, well, yeah, I figured I would drive as far as I could and then see what happens. And I was like, would you like a companion? And she was like, oh my God, that would be great. So we rented a car. We got several hundred miles before the snowstorm hit us. It snowed all night, but because we were already in the south, by the time we left in the morning, the snow was melting in the south. Meanwhile, for days afterwards, I was getting notices from the airport saying, your flight has been changed to tomorrow. Your flight has been, and then finally about 5 days after I'd gotten home, they said, we're really sorry, but your flight from Washington, D.C. has been canceled. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I was able to just be calm and happen to notice that the person next to me was thinking the same thing I was thinking. And if I had panicked, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So that's just one little tiny example of what can happen if you bring your body and mind together.
This was so great example. So what I'm hearing is that when you travel, things are going to happen. Like even in normal life, things are happening. Like you cannot control the circumstances, and especially when you're traveling, you're exposed to the unknown and to the circumstances. And if you're panicking, you're tensing the body and it creates resistance. And resistance doesn't allow you to think clearly and see the solutions. But if you find techniques to relax your body, to relax your mind, then you release the tension, you release the resistance, and then you will be open to solutions and you'll find a way out.
Absolutely. And I want to add that being able to be present in that way, in other words, I wouldn't just walk up to anybody and ask them if they want to rent a car with me. I could see by this woman's body language, by the things that she was saying, by her presence, that she was, a good person. I could tell that right away. So it wasn't like I would just approach any stranger. You want to be present enough to know that you're safe in that situation. But you're absolutely right. We have no control over anything. You could never travel in your life, never take a risk in your life, and something is still going to happen to you. So how do you kind of roll with the punches, be spontaneous in the situation? And the only way is really to be in tune with your mind body so that you can respond instead of react. And I think that's really important. When I can look at the situation and respond, I'm going to get a lot further towards where I want to go. And that could mean that you're stuck. We've all been stuck. I've spent many a night in a hotel room because my flight was canceled. And you end up making friends with the people that they put on the bus with you. And you just kind of, sometimes there's no escape. And so you make the best of your situation.
But if you find ways to relax and to stay present and find peace, you'll find a way out. Even if you have to stay stuck in a certain place, you'll come up with ideas how to make this situation a wonderful experience anyway, because you connect to other people, for example, or you just go and visit something in the city that you wouldn't do otherwise.
Exactly. One time I was trapped in Miami because of another snowstorm in the north. And I was with my husband and we were just like, well, we've never been to Miami. This is going to be fun. And so, we explored the whole city, South Beach. It was great. And then we flew home a couple of days later. It happens. It happens. It's not the end of the world.
And this is beauty when you travel and when you experience a situation like that, and then you find a way out. Then when you get back home and something happens, then you have a whole new perspective on what's going on, and it doesn't look as big as it would otherwise.
And you have some great stories. After it's over, the stories are fantastic.
Yeah, wow. So that was so great. We would love to hear more about what you help your clients with.
Oh, so just like I was speaking about bringing mind and body together in this way, I work with such a huge range of people because like I said, your body is your mind. So when people come to me with a frozen shoulder or a sports injury or wanting to get through their creative block, right? So it could be an emotional thing, it could be a physical thing. We use movement to help that person start to see, well, where are you holding? Where are you holding that tension? Where are you refusing to let go? How could you do this better? Whether it's move your frozen shoulder better or think more clearly about the project that you're working on. And the movements of the Feldenkrais method are very slow, very gentle, very meditative in a way, because what you're really doing is you're not trying to train your muscles. You're not trying to get stronger or stretch. You're trying to communicate with your brain so that you can start to develop new habits, new ways of moving, new ways of thinking, new ways of feeling. So, I mean, I've been teaching the Feldenkrais method for over 30 years now. It's pretty amazing, actually. Can't believe it. I know. And
as old as I am.
There you go. I've been teaching it as long as you've been alive. Yeah, but I don't feel old. That's the cool part. right? Because this movement keeps me young, it keeps me flexible. I feel like I'm the poster child for the work that I do. And so I've worked with thousands of people, and I do workshops. I work a lot with bringing the body and the emotions together in different ways. I'm a certified emotional body instructor as well, which means that I understand the emotional patterns that we exhibit in our bodies, and I integrate that with my Feldenkrais work. And then, of course, one of the ways that I continue my love of travel is creating really exciting retreats in interesting places. So I've conducted retreats in Croatia, in Mexico, in Spain, and I'm about to do one at the end of January, actually, in Costa Rica. This will be my third time in Costa Rica, actually. So if there are people who would love to travel, but don't feel safe because they're not comfortable with the idea of traveling alone, or they don't know what they would do when they go there, I would recommend that they try a retreat with someone, because there's so many. There's writing retreats, poetry retreats, movement retreats, and there you're facilitated, and you have a chance to maybe explore outward a little bit and get your talents together so that you can figure out where you'd like to go next. It's a wonderful way to do it. And another way also to maybe get to know people in the area instead of just being a tourist. When you do some kind of an immersion, you really get a chance to experience the culture sometimes. So that's another way that I work with my clients. So there's just so many different ways. When you do something as crazy that people can't pronounce, like the Feldenkrais method, you have to be very diverse in the ways that you present your work.
I love that so much. We're gonna put the link right under the interview, so it's very easy to connect with Lavinia. Just click the link, and we also know that you have prepared a free gift to the audience.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell about that?
Yeah, well, one of the other interesting things about the Feldenkrais method is that you learn it without watching someone. You don't imitate someone. You're not told how to do it. You just experience the instructions, and you do it often even with your eyes closed, lying down. So what I'm offering is an audio lesson that is specifically designed for helping you relax this shoulder area, your shoulder girdle, your shoulders, all the stress, whether you are traveling carrying a backpack, or whether you're rushing through the airport, or you're just nervous about anticipation. Everything kind of goes up here. We carry so much in our shoulders. So this is an audio lesson that anyone can do, that's done lying down. You could even do it in bed if you want, in the hotel once you get there, that can relax your shoulders and help you understand how you could get a little bit more ease in this area without too much stress. And it's a longish lesson, because I like to give a good free gift, but you don't always have to do the whole thing. You might eventually just do little bits and pieces just to get yourself back in shape so that you could go down to dinner the night you arrive.
Yeah, so maybe once you've practiced it a couple of times, you already know how it goes, so you don't have to
Absolutely.
listen to the whole thing again.
No, it's very simple. It's very simple.
Yeah, this is awesome, and this is something that can be used when you travel or in everyday life as well. But it can be especially valuable when you're traveling and you're exposed to those environments when you're stressful and when you don't know what's going to happen, and you feel a lot of tension in the body. Maybe you're exhausted in the body from hours of walking or sitting in an uncomfortable position. So I really recommend to download it now right away while it's available. Just really take advantage of this. All right. Thank you so much, Lavinia, for joining us.
It's actually really fun. Thank you.
It was amazing. So much valuable information, and I hope that now when we put the link, that people have opportunity to connect with you and learn more about your method and work with you, or go to your retreats. That sounds so fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check this out. Like I'm here in Europe, so next time you do a retreat in Europe.
yeah. Or maybe in the middle of winter in Sweden, you might just say, I really need to go to the Caribbean.
Yeah, that's definitely. I already want to go to Caribbean because it's
Right.
really cold though.
Oh,
All
it's really
right.
cold already. Okay, well, stay warm.
I'm wearing my winter jacket now, and it's September, beginning of September.
Mm,
But
well,
I love swimming in cold water. Just it helps me to rebalance and kind of change the pattern, break the pattern, just to
mhm.
think clearly. I love that.
Right, right. Yes, that would be a definitely clearing your mind when you jump into that water.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're looking
Thank
forward
you.
to hearing more from you.
Okay, me too. Bye-bye.